That's where the whole fully unthick came from, and make a difference and become a better woman, that each of us are worth more than many sparrows. I've really been living in solitude these last 2 years. Hey y'all, I am back. This is just gonna be a continuation of the last video. I'm trying to make them short so that I don't lose you guys' interest along the journey. This is gonna be a long one, so I want y'all to really like stick with me. I left off on the part where I was talking to y'all about the when, God, when will I move to Houston? Okay, you done told me and showed me a whole bunch of different signs. Okay, so now I know that I'm going, but when would be the best time for me to go? On that day that I was in Houston, I didn't really get to get much done. I went there to pick up new equipment for my business at Best Buy. Then I was gonna take that equipment and go film an event so that I can get content for Ruthless. But it just didn't end up happening that way. I picked up the equipment, I got to the event. When I got there, I was trying to charge the equipment and hook it up to my camera, but then I realized that the camera does not go with the equipment. So I was so embarrassed, y'all. I was tumbling with that equipment for like an hour and a half in the parking lot of the event. I was embarrassed because the event planners were waiting on me to come back and film the musicians, but it just wasn't happening. So I had to travel 30 minutes back to the Best Buy, return the equipment and exchange it. But by the time all that was over, the event was over. So as y'all know, I was feeling down. It took me 2.5 hours to get there just to like not even really do anything. So, you know, I guess I didn't come back too empty-handed because I did see that sign that I mentioned in the last video. That was worth driving 2.5 hours to see. So on my way back home, I'm listening to this audiobook about boundaries, which is something that if you know me like that, then you know that I have really been like boundaries was just a strange concept to me. I didn't have any at all. Like I would just let anybody do and say anything that they wanted to. That's where the whole fully unthick came from, because like people really used to be talking about my body and I would just not say anything. So that's how I had to start instilling power into some of you guys who have been sticking with me since those videos. But you know, there's other types of boundaries that come across, especially in relationships, that I was not aware of. On my way back home, you know, it's nighttime. I'm listening to this audio book and I started getting tired. So I stopped by a gas station. I went in there to get coffee. Mind y'all, it's like 7 o'clock at night. Why am I drinking coffee? It don't matter. I'm tired. I need to get back home safely so that my mom don't have to, you know, bury me or anything like that. So hold on, let me turn this. You cutting into my sound right quick. Let me turn that off. So I go into the gas station, and it's a gas station that I never heard of. It's called Rattlers. And I went in there to get my coffee, and the cashier dude, he was just looking at me. I don't know how I was looking. I was probably looking sad because I'm driving back to Austin. Basically, I mean, I'm not empty-handed. I do have brand new equipment that I needed, but it's like I didn't get to do what I wanted to do in Houston. So I'm probably just looking sad with my little coffee. And I get to the register and he said, "Is that all you're getting?" I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "Don't worry about it." I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, just take the coffee." I was like, wow. Got into the car. Y'all, I be praising God for the littlest things, like, cause I had a long day. Like, I had left super early to get to Houston, spent all day fussing with Best Buy, and then I come back with a free coffee, like, yay. So as I get closer to Austin, the audio book is starting to come to an end. By the end of the book, the author was saying that the best way to make people aware about boundaries so that people will stop crossing people's boundaries and, you know, taking advantage of them physically, emotionally, sexually, financially. She said the best way to spread the knowledge about boundaries is through community initiatives and public speaking and stuff like that. So I was thinking about that for a while, because a couple months ago I had a thought like, what if I became like a youth minister or something. Like, what if I could just talk to kids about resilience and overcoming adverse childhood experiences and stuff like that? So when she said that, I was like, I should start public speaking about my experiences. I'm getting enough experience here on YouTube talking to y'all about certain stuff. So it's like, what if I took it to the next level and actually got on a stage and help a group of people with like some real problems, like real life problems, right? And so when I got home, I looked up community initiatives in Austin. Of course, I didn't really find any because this city doesn't really seem to be big on stuff like that. Like, it's just like mostly tech and white collar stuff going on here in Austin. I don't know. I'm just speaking from my experience. Don't come for me. Don't come for me. So then I looked up, I just Googled it. I was like, community initiatives in Houston. The Houston Area Urban League, Young Professionals, it came up. And so I started to read through the different committees and stuff that they had. And it turns out that one of the committees, they're having a workshop in public speaking. And I was like, look at God, like, whoa, like, okay, so not only can this be my home, but I can actually go there and make a difference and become a better woman and have a bigger impact on my community. Like, this is looking good. So I went ahead and I joined that committee that, you know, is offering the public speaking class or whatever. And so, you know, I started to, you know, be a part of their little meetings and Zoom calls and stuff. And I'm just making new friends already. I'm not even in Houston yet, and I'm already making new friends. Like, do you know how long it took me to make friends in Austin? Like, and I'm talking about, I moved to Austin when the city was open, like before COVID. And even during that time, I was not able to make friends as fast as I'm making friends now. So I feel like even that in itself is a sign, a good sign. Man, my arm is getting tired from holding this. Let me sit down. I'm gonna sit down. All right, let me just sit down. Y'all know I do not make videos like this. Like, I'm usually very formal. Got my cute little lens and my cute little bed set. Nah, we ain't got time for that right now. We talking about real stuff. So, a couple days ago, we had a meeting, and the chairperson of that committee, it's called the Professional Development Committee. They were having a meeting discussing, you know, the public speaking class and how much it's gonna cost and how often they're gonna do it, and it's gonna start in April. So I'm thinking to myself, dang, I really don't want to miss out on a public speaking thing, because that was the main reason why I joined the committee. So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, dang, I'm really gonna have to commute from Austin to Houston every single week to take part of this public speaking class, right? By the end of the meeting, the chairperson, she asked, does anybody have any questions? And I was like, yeah, I kind of have a personal question. It doesn't really have anything to do with the committee. And she was like, sure, Bree, just ask. And mind you, in this group, they're like women like me. Like, they're around my age, and they're like successful and proficient in their professions and stuff like that. So I just felt safe and comfortable asking. And I just said, I want to move to Houston soon, and I want to be a part of y'all's events, but my lease is not up until October. So do y'all feel like I should start applying for jobs in Houston now, or wait until my lease is about to be up and then start applying for jobs? And then she said, do you want to move to Houston? And I was like, yeah, like, duh, that's why I'm in the committee. And so she was like, so what's stopping you from moving to Houston? And I said, my lease, because it's not over until October. And then she said, Bree, don't let a lease stop you from doing what you feel like you need to do. And I was just like, but still, like, it can be expensive. I don't know how much experience y'all have with like housing and apartments and stuff like that, but normally if you break a lease at your apartment, first of all, they'll charge you what's called a reletting fee, which is basically damages from you breaking your lease. And then after that, you're still obligated to pay on that lease until the lease is up. So technically, if I were to break my lease today, I would have to continue to pay $1,100 a month all the way until October, or until they find somebody else to occupy this apartment, right? So that's what I was explaining. Well, I didn't have to explain it to her because she already knew. And so she said, Bree, don't even worry about that. There's ways around that. Don't worry about it. If you want to come to Houston, just move. And so I was like, okay. Like in the back of my mind, I'm just like, man, I ain't about to pay $1,100 a month. I'm not about to pay 2 rents because you ain't gonna help me pay 2 rents. So I might as well just stay here and wait till October. Right? That's what I was thinking. But then something at the back of my mind was like, or maybe have faith and give it a try, right? Okay. So the next day, Transformation Church, you know, they had a sermon about paper chasing and money and being a financial steward. There was a section of Pastor Todd's sermon where he's talking about the birds of the air, basically ravens and sparrows and stuff like that. They don't worry about how they're going to get fed because God feeds them. And so in the Bible it says that each of us are worth more than many sparrows. And it basically says don't worry about what you're going to eat or what you're going to wear. Let tomorrow worry about itself, because you can't add another hour to your life. And so it says if you can't even do that one little thing, then what do you have to worry about? Basically saying God is gonna take care of you. Like, don't worry about any of that stuff. And it was just crazy. Like the timing the timing of that message was just, it was crazy to me. Towards the end of the sermon, I think one of the last points that he had was, would you be willing to give up your possessions to follow what God is calling you to do? So I started to think to myself, what would be the possessions that I have to give up? And that would be this apartment, like the security of this apartment. I've been here for a year now. So would I give up this apartment to move to Houston and not really even know what my living situation is gonna be? Like, am I gonna find a cheaper apartment, or will I have to rent out a room in somebody's house? So it's like, dang, like just the uncertainty and not knowing, it's like, it's really been stressing me out. But I would be willing to give up this apartment to get whatever it is that God is intended for me, because he's pulling me there. He's pulling me. I done told y'all. I just feel like throughout today, I just been really, really sad. I don't really even know why, because it feels like I'm not really missing out on anything. Like I literally only have 2 friends in Austin, and I don't get to see them that often because we're all so busy. So it's like, I don't know, I just feel like I've really been living in solitude these last 2 years that I've been living in Austin, and I'm just ready to step out. I'm ready to be a part of the community. I'm ready to, you know, do stuff and build and be a part of something that's bigger than myself. And I really feel that there's people and organizations in Houston that are already doing that stuff, and it just feels like it's a match for me. So I'm feeling, you know, sad because I'm gonna miss my 2 friends that I made here. At the same time, I'm also excited, you know. So I'm sorry that was pretty long-winded. If you made it to the end, put the sun emoji in the comment section and I'll show you some love. I appreciate you. I'll come subscribe to your channel. I'll follow you back on Instagram. Like, thank y'all so much for, you know, just supporting me and just being present on my journey, on this uphill climb to new heights. So I'll see y'all in the next one. Which means that technically, since I'm breaking the lease, yes, I decided to reach out to them and say I'm breaking the lease. So technically I will